This episode is powered by Poddecks. Poddecks are unique interview questions and episode starting prompts in the palm of your hand. So whether you are a new podcaster or existing broadcaster looking to grow your audience or get more engagement, you're going to want to check out poddecks.com. Use code CinemaGold for 10% off your first order.
Welcome to the Cinema Gold Podcast with your host, Larry Lease. Come join us as Cinema Gold dives into the latest Hollywood films and news.
Hello and welcome to an all-new episode of the Cinema Gold Podcast. This is actually going to be a bonus episode. I will be interviewing myself with Poddecks. I'll pick a random card each time and answer the question that's on the card. So the first one is, would you rather go 30 days without your phone or your entire life without dessert? That's actually a tough one. I'd go entire life without dessert because I need my phone to stay connected with people. The second question is, would you rather be the best player on a horrible team or the worst player on a great team? I end up being the worst player on a great team when it comes to playing video games. So I'm going to go with a worst player on a great team, so I got somebody that can actually carry me. Who or where would you haunt if you were a ghost? That would have to be probably my job, just so I can see what goes on when I'm not there. Next question, if you could look through one person's email without them knowing, whose email would you look through? It would definitely have to be anybody I work with, because I feel like they'd say something about me in an email. If everything in your house had to be one color, what color would you choose? I would definitely go with red. I just like red as a color growing up. What would be the worst ingredients to fill a burrito with? Anchovies, obviously. Next question. How much would someone have to pay for your little toe? That's actually pretty good. 200 million. Next question. Would you rather give up all drinks except for water, or give up eating anything that was cooked in an oven? I'd give up eating anything that was cooked in an oven, because you can still cook on the stove, you can cook on a grill, you can cook in an air fryer. Is a hot dog a sandwich, and why? I want to say it's a sandwich because it's using bread, and then it has sandwich ingredients specific to a hot dog, like ketchup, mustard, relish, that whole shebang. If you were stranded on a desert island and you could choose one person to keep you company, who would it be? And what about one animal? One animal, I'd say golden retriever. Person to keep me company would be anybody from the upper room. If you got stuck in an elevator and were forced to listen to one song, what song would you pick? Billy Joel, We Didn't Start the Fire. What's something weird that you recommend everyone tries at least once? Ooh. A cheeseburger with a donut instead of a bun at the Texas Fair. What is something you hate but you wish you loved? If it's food, probably Indian food. Another question, what makes you feel old? Knowing that everyone I work with is way younger than me. What things do you do every day that you wish could be automated? Ooh. Finding topics for a podcast episode. Who would you most like to sit next to on a 10-hour flight, and why? I'm going to go with Dave Filoni. And why? So I can ask him all sorts of Star Wars questions. What is something that people are obsessed with, but you just don't get the point of? I'm gonna go with anime. Never understood it. What is the funniest place you've ever fallen asleep? That would be at I think it was a Denny's or an IHOP. What would you do if you were invisible for a day? Probably follow everybody I work with around, just to see what they do when I'm not there. If you could jump into a pool full of something, what would it be? It would have to be... I'm gonna go with pudding. It just seems kind of weird to jump into. And a little fun. What is the weirdest thing you've ever eaten? That's actually a tough question. Let's see. Probably a cheeseburger with donuts as the hamburger bun. I don't eat that much stuff that's strange. If you had a personal mascot, what would it be? Probably a microphone. Since now I'm addicted to doing podcasts. What is the dumbest way you've ever been injured? I tried cutting a solid frozen pie with a knife and sliced my finger and got stitches. Serious question, do you count your steps? No, unless I'm at work and I just want to know how many steps I've actually taken. What's something I would never guess about me? Or what's something you would never guess about me? I've lived in Japan in kindergarten. What is your most unusual talent? Having the unfortunate opportunity of bringing Subflirtenflaus to existence. What's something that people think makes them look cool, but actually makes them look ridiculous? I'm gonna go with getting drunk. What's the funniest name you can think of for a pet? Candy corn. I don't know, that's just a name that came to my head. What's the cheesiest movie moment or line you can think of? Damn. No pun intended, but what do you call a quarter pounder with cheese in France? Royale with cheese. Of course, from Pulp Fiction. Would you rather have unlimited sushi for life or unlimited tacos for life? I'm gonna go with unlimited tacos for life. Because then you could be Taco Tuesday every day. Next question. If you could only eat one food for the rest of your life, what would it be? I'm gonna go with steak. How much would someone have to pay you to eat a live spider? God, that's just nasty to even think about. I'm gonna go with $14 billion. And now the next question. What would be the worst movie sequel ever made? Let's see. What's a dumb movie? The Pagemaster 2. Because the first one was okay, it wasn't great, so I feel like a second would suck. Have you ever worn clothing with the labels or tags still attached? Yes, at work and home. Next question. Would you rather be the most popular kid in school or the smartest kid in school? I'm going to go with popular, because then the smartest is just going to get picked on by the popular. Do you have any superstitions? I'm not superstitious, I'm just a little stitious. But I don't really have any, I would say. What's the worst pickup line you've ever heard or dished out? Heard was, you come here often? What weird food combinations do you really enjoy? problem with a cheeseburger with donuts. Other than that, nothing else comes to mind. Yeah, no, I've used that answer a lot. What's the funniest, most disappointing, weirdest, etc. text you received? Weirdest was, who was it from? Have you signed up for health insurance? If you were reincarnated as a famous landmark, which would it be? Lincoln Memorial. Just so I can look all above everybody. And the final question for this episode, for this pod deck episode: which celebrity chef would you most like to make you dinner? I'm going to go with Bobby Flay. I'd like to thank Poddex for sponsoring this episode. You can use the link in the show notes and use code CinemaGold to save 10% off your purchase. Thank you, and thank you for listening to this special episode of the Cinema Gold podcast.
Thank you for listening to the Cinema Gold podcast. If you want to become a supporter, you can buy us a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/cinemagold. Follow us on Twitter at cinemagold2 and like us on Facebook at facebook.com/cinemagoldmovies.